Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote.
Everyone, welcome back to the Across the Park podcast. And look at this, we're in the studio, both of us, Judgy and Millsy in the studio. It has been a while. You said that just before we started recording the.
It feels like a long time. And I spoke to someone yesterday at the women's match, and they also said, "When are you and Judgy going to do a show together?" So here we are.
It has been a long time, and I think it's one of them. The summer obviously everyone's schedules go out the window. We both had a lot going on in work. I think our work schedules have probably settled down a little bit now. So hopefully the plan is we should be in the studio a lot more often from here on in. And here come the lights as well for that.
Cooking on diesel now, aren't we? Lights on and everything.
Yeah, the lights are on. Millsy and Judgy and the lights are on. So look, obviously back in the studio, and we're not just back in the studio because we won. It's not just about that, but if that's what it takes, we'll be in the studio every week.
I'd love it.
So this week, I'm going to be hosting more and asking some of the questions to Millsy. Obviously a well overdue and welcome victory against Palace. For anyone who hasn't checked it out already, I have recorded a review last night with Back of the Nest, D from Back of the Nest, who's a Palace fan. We unfortunately couldn't get the preview done with him. But it's an interesting insight really from his perspective in terms of how they perceived Everton going into the game, where they maybe see Everton finishing, and again where they see them finishing. I think it's what was particularly interesting for me is I put it on his toes and said, look, where do you expect to be when we play you in February? I think he said around mid-table, so obviously hopefully we'll catch up with him again in February. But if you haven't heard that, then maybe give it a listen. But Millsy, for you, obviously as I said, a massive victory from behind as well, which I think makes it a little bit more sweet given the context of what's happened recently. Just your initial thoughts before we go into specifics.
I went on the record last week. We had Paddy Boylan's on, and I said Everton had to win Saturday. And Paddy wasn't quite at that stage. He just said, look, a win has to happen soon for multiple reasons, but he didn't put it on the Palace game. I did. I thought with Newcastle coming up, and then a huge game at Ipswich. Ipswich are going to be looking at Everton. That's going to be a big game. International break coming up. I thought the Palace game, we had to get 3 points. We can go in depth on the first half if you want, but I think the second half performance was everything that we needed. Yeah. They just came out. And it felt like, we got that goal straight away. And that lifted the crowd. Everyone comes down for the half-time pints and everyone's buoyed. They've gone from moaning to being buoyed, and the atmosphere in the stadium just changed with that goal. The substitution of Jack Harrison was key.
Yeah,
all of a sudden we got
it, would you?
Energy.
Do you know what though? Just on that one, and we're going to go into specifics in a moment. That was the Jack Harrison I thought we were getting. Whenever I watched him for Leeds, he was aggressive in possession and out of possession. He was hurried, harrying, and Everton was quick. Everton was urgent. I haven't seen that near enough since he's been at Everton.
There's been flashes. I think he was very good in the Merseyside derby last year. I remember him standing out there. But it has been few and far between really for Jack Harrison, and he hasn't put the numbers on the board. And maybe it does take competition. We've all of a sudden got Jesper, who's came in.
And
Jesper Lindstrom
obviously coming and took an extra position in there, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, he's took a position. You're right, but I think Lindstrom competes with Harrison.
Yeah, but it's one of them, and he always plays the three behind the one. So there's only 3 positions available. Yeah. So I think Ndai at the moment, and we'll speak about that in a moment, has become first name on the team sheet almost in that 3.
Well, he's tried Harrison as a 10 before and it hasn't worked. No. He does seem to be, at this minute, our best right winger. Jack Harrison, and there was a moment in the game on Saturday just before half time, not too sure how many seen it, don't think it was on the camera. Jesper Lindstrom give up on second back and he put his arms up, and the manager was irate. That was it. And he got hooked at half time. One thing Jack Harrison will never do is that. He'll always have someone who's working hard, and that'll be a big lesson for Lindstrom, I think, on Saturday. That look, going forward, fine. You are an outlet and you're giving us pace, but the way this manager wants to play and the way we are in our position in the table, got to work hard.
It's a bit like the kind of Aruna Kone, Stephen Naismith, Kevin Morales type. And Morales, everyone wanted him on the pitch, didn't he? But he was never interested in going the other way.
Yeah.
Stephen Naismith, again, it was like he was very Marmite. Stephen Naismith, I didn't really like him. Looking back, he obviously was a valuable player. He was a bit more like Jack Harrison, though, wasn't he? He was always got industry from him. But in fairness to Stephen Naismith, and Jack Harrison hasn't produced that. He did get the numbers, and as you say, that's what he needs, isn't it, right now?
Yeah, and the numbers Harrison got on Saturday was an assist.
Yeah.
He got straight away. So for him, I think he grew into the game. That gave him a lot of confidence. He came in, got an assist, great finish by Dwight McNeil. But I just think, I know we're going to talk a bit more specifics, but in summary, I just think it was a huge win. I just think we can be as positive as we want on this channel, and we always try to do, but it would have been tough to come on here today and defend Everton not beating Crystal Palace at home. And that's no disrespect to Crystal Palace, but it just stood out. The Bournemouth game and the Leicester game, where Everton didn't get maximum points, it just made Palace huge. And I think the fans would have left the ground on Saturday, would have been worried. You go into watching the games on Sunday, worried. That's not where we need to be in September.
I agree, and I think it's, to some extent, it's a couple of points back, because I thought Palace going into the season were in a decent position. Obviously, they lost the Lise, but you reel off some of the names that they've got in there, and they're established internationals, they're proven Premier League players. The likes of Eze, Wharton, Gay, Mateta. The players that are being
Jefferson Lerma was good in the first half for them.
Lerma's not a bad player as well. They've got some good players, is the point I'm making. I don't think it would be at the start of the season a fixture that jump out, so we must win that. But again, when you drop points to Leicester, you drop points to Bournemouth, it became that. So I think we got a couple back, in my opinion, versus what you would have predicted us getting, which was important.
But there was nerves as well in the stadium, wasn't there, as well? I mean, Palace didn't offer a lot, really. And the fact that they weren't offering a lot and we were still nervous, this win takes that away now. Now, we have that's out of sight. Let's forget about Bournemouth. I know it's tough. Let's forget about it. Let's concentrate on that team have just come from behind for the first time in Sean Dyche's reign.
Yeah.
Great. Let's stop talking about that now, because they've done it and they've held on to a lead at Goodison Park and got 3 points. Let's concentrate on that now. Let's try and be positive.
Just on that, before we get into some of the individual performances, we already spoke about Harrison. We spoke briefly about McNeil. Let's talk with the manager first, because we've both been very critical of the manager for different reasons, probably more so you than me.
Yeah.
I was getting to the point where there's only so much longer I could be pragmatic about it.
Yeah.
It seemed to me that, more than anything else, the in-game management was the biggest concern. Saturday, all right, whether you call half-time in-game management, there was a visible response from the players. There was a change made by the manager.
Yeah.
That's a tick, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I'd argue a half-time change is in-game management. The game is live, and you're affecting the in-game. So it was a great change. Now, whether it was forced on him because of Lindstrom's attitudes at the end of the first half, maybe, but let's just concentrate on the change was made for whatever reason. He was comfortable on Saturday in making a half-time change. He was then comfortable in making additional changes when Mangala was tired. He did look tired, so Idrissa Gana Gueye, we brought James Garner on, which thought give us more legs in midfield. I've sat here so many times and criticised the changes. They were good on Saturday. They were good changes. And he deserves... I'll come on here and I'll stick it to him for Bournemouth, and I'll stick it to him for other times because he got it wrong. Yeah. I've got to come on here and say he got it right on Saturday, and he was a big part of Everton winning the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is fair to say. And I like what... You sent me a screenshot of a tweet someone had put on X. I say, do we still call it a tweet, or do we call it is it still a tweet? Anyway, it was someone asking on X, what fan channels can should I follow, and they put this channel, that channel, and they put across the park just for fan content. And I think genuinely, most fans would walk out to that stadium, it's fair to say, on Saturday and say, the manager's had a good game there. Yeah, because you walk out and the manager should be judged alongside the players in terms of he's done this well, he hasn't done that not so well. But just to go back briefly to the in-game management or the decisions he's made the decision in giving a start to Lindstrom. I looked at that and thought, fair play. The lad's come on, he's made an impact at times, he looks dangerous. As you say, he's got pace. But equally, you've then got to manage Jack Harrison, haven't you? Jack Harrison's been left out. He maybe not feel he deserves to be left out. But then he's come off the bench and he's got a reaction out of him. So a lot of the in-game management at times for me is I've felt that the players he's left out or put in the team didn't feel like they were either ready to be in the team or should have been in the team. I think generally the starting lineup was the right one. And the change, as you say, at the time, were the right changes as well.
Look, I do think with Dyche, I think there's a lot of water under the bridge now, and I don't think he'll claw some fans back. I think some fans have made a decision on Sean Dyche. And
I think most of us have, yeah.
Do you know what I liken it to? It's the opposite of Frank Lampard, because I think Frank Lampard was struggling, but Everton fans wanted, like, come on, Frank, we want you. We're invested in you because you've invested in us. Now, I think, as you've rightly said on a podcast in the past, what Sean Dyche did is he basically come in and without saying it, he said, I'm not reaching out, I'm not telling you how great you are as a fan base, I'm not going to blow smoke with you, I'm here to do a job, and you're not going to get the niceties, you're not going to get me jumping on a director's box, I'm not going to call you great every week. And some fans, I'll put me in this bracket, some fans need that, some fans want their manager. How great was Frank when Roberto Martinez first came? There's a story Alan Myers told us on the old audio podcast. And Roberto Martinez asked Alan Myers what the two stands behind the goal were called. He said the Gladys Street and the Park End, because he wanted to reference them in his post-match interviews and connect. And people love Martinez for the first couple of seasons. Dyche has not got that. He's not overly reached, and he's been on bad. Last season, we didn't win in months, and he's had bad. And I think what Dyche does, and it's a strength and it's a weakness, is he tells you how crap it is. He comes out and he'll tell you, we're a mess.
Walter Smith, he reminds me of more so, and look, what a great man Walter Smith was, and a great manager. Obviously, he's not had the success that Walter Smith had, up in Scotland at Rangers. But I think the way that he goes about things and he's consistent. You've got to give him that.
Well, Martinez came in and says, I want to get us in the Champions League. Our blue hearts beat. Lampard stays up against Crystal Palace, and all summer he's talking about an expansive style of play, he wants to progress the club. Our blue heart beats. Dyche just says, this is a mess, I'm here to try and sort it.
And I think
some fans don't like that.
You used to got that level of honesty from Walter Smith, I thought, and at times the play was dire, wasn't it? But you look at the players he was working with, and I think, in the future, and I'm sure he'll be as quick as us to say this thing in the future, a bit like the Sam Allardyce type thing, you look back and go, do you know what? He's done a decent job there under the circumstances.
Well, can I ask you something? So, Dyche's comments, we've got a question on Sean Dyche from the socials, so I just wanted to say his comments last week, one of his comments were, I can't really tell you the restraints I'm working under at the minute, but one day I'll be able to tell the story. A quote like that sounds like a man who's maybe not feeling the pressure as such, but sort of knows that the new era's coming in and he's likely not going to be the manager.
Yeah, there's that, but I think it's obvious, and you only have to look at the age and the profile of the players we brought in. It's obvious they're not his players. That would, in any manager's book, be classed as a constraint. Now, he has gone on the record to say that it doesn't work if the manager doesn't at least give the nods to the signings, but he absolutely hasn't gone as far as to say they're my players.
Well, he said, didn't he? He said, I just won't play them if they're not mine.
Yeah, and he's done that.
We haven't seen Jake O'Brien. We didn't see Arnaud Danjuma.
Yeah, we just about seen Lindstrom, and it was almost like, again, that feels to me him being hooked. I mean, I seen Lindstrom after the game a couple of weeks ago at Bournemouth. I said to him, Jesper, it'd be good to see you on the pitch, and he said, speak to the manager. So, he's clearly... There's clearly some players, as you rightfully say there, that are not his players, and I think that's going to be the line that probably comes out, amongst maybe other things, to say, look, I asked for this player, he can give me it, or I was against this signing, but they made it anyway.
But I don't have to, for me to come and praise Sean Dyche's job that he did on Saturday, that doesn't mean I have to start falling in love with him.
No,
I can still have an opinion. I think
like with players, and we're going to come on some players.
I think what I'm trying to say is I just think, like, I don't think that is enough for the whole fan base. Now goes doing a great job.
It won't be anyway.
No.
And we'll obviously come towards the end, and we'll come back to Sean Dyche. I don't think it is, but I think the point I was making, and you've jumped right into it, is he deserves credit, as a lot of the players do for the weekend. Going through some of the obviously the big performance, not as much performance, but the big influence and the big return was Jarrad Branthwaite. I mean, for me, I don't think his individual performance stood out. It was the effect he has on the rest of the players around him.
The effect he had on the crowd?
I thought James Tarkowski had the best game he's had this season, to be fair. But, Jordan Pickford, as you say, the crowd's being more relaxed. The crowd just kind of allowing him to play and allowing the defenders to do their job.
Well, he got the big intro as well. So we were in the fan zone about 1:45. And Julia Bold read the team out, and it jumps from 1 Jordan Pickford, and it goes to it skipped number 5. It went to 6 Tarkowski, so you knew Michael Keane wasn't playing. And then Branthwaite was the last number. It was the 32, Jared Branthwaite, and the fans all erupted. And then Rossi gave the big Michael Buffer intro to him, making his big Goodison Park return. And the crowds, and he got a big roar. And it just felt better. It felt better. And that can only transmit to the players.
Yeah, absolutely. He's such a presence. And I think, that's a big credit to him. And I don't know, however long we have him for, I'm fairly certain it won't be beyond next summer. I'd love it, but I don't think it will. No. I think he's a top player, and again, I think he's shown that. He's clearly not fully fit yet, but to come in as he did and to be so assured, and again to have such a positive impact on his teammates was credible.
By hook or crook, we have to keep him fit. Now, I don't know if this is an injury that's going to be a niggly, reoccurring one, but what I would say to anybody who is possibly listening at Finch Farm, keep that player by hook or crook fit.
It doesn't worry me. Obviously, it worries me because anything can happen. But one thing, again, I will give Sean Dyche and his team credit for is they don't rush players back.
No, they don't. No.
How it's been this must be, and I'd like to see. I'm sure someone's got the stats. This must be the longest that Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been.
But how fit does he look?
I know it's the longest he's been fit for, and as you say, it's the best he's looked physically.
He's trimmed down, he's agile, his jump is back, and he's working and pressing. That's the Lewin that I wouldn't say Carlo had, because Carlo has a goal scoring Lewin, but it's certainly more like that Lewin where he just looks, with Frank Lampard, he just looked like he was struggling.
Yeah. And again, I think it's, how much stick is he taking? Sean Dyche, and obviously you're losing games and you want players back in the team, but he's took a lot of stick. And is Michael Keane again? Why is he leaving? Why is Branthwaite playing in the 21s when he's playing 90 minutes in the 21s when we need him in the first team? But again, it's generally worked. It's generally worked, whatever the process is in there. A player I'm going to touch on, you for me, obviously aside from McNeil, because those 2 goals, just almost give you the man of the match. Anyway, for me, the best player on the pitch, apart from Dwight Neal on Saturday, was Orel Mangala. I thought
he took a while to grow into it a little bit.
He did, but I think everyone did. Yeah. But I mean, the stats back it up. For one, I was keen to look at them because I watched it and I thought he was everywhere. I think he was everywhere, but at the same time, he wasn't the Orabunum everywhere. He wasn't just running around like headless chicken. His positioning was a lot better. He intercepted a lot of balls, 5 interceptions and 4 tackles, which is a lot in a game. A lot, actually. And I just thought he gave us a lot more of an experience base in there. Now I know he is only 25, 26 himself, but you look at the first few games, and obviously we did mention Branthwaite, but I think it's looked chaotic in that midfield the first few games. I think that second half in particular, and at times in the first half, I just thought it looked a lot more structured.
Going back to the Bournemouth game where we sit in the park ends, when that collapse happened, Pickford was roaring at the midfielders, help us, and it looked lost. Now, Eric Boonham's had bright spells and he's looked okay and he's looked promising, but I think it was right to bring him out at this moment. He's young, and if the result didn't go well on Saturday, he's part of a really bad start. So I think Mangala's made a bit of a difference. I think in the second half he was brilliant, and he tired. He was everywhere, and he tired himself out. First half, like you say, they were all really at it, but I've got to give the man of the match for me, Dwight McNeil.
Oh, no, yeah.
And you look at the stats now, he's contributing assists, goals. He's, with McNeil, the way he plays is, and there's that funny clip, isn't there, where the referee outruns him a couple of years ago to track back, and he was highlighted against Bournemouth this season for losing his man. What McNeil will give you is energy and press, but without the pace. And in number 10, you don't really need to have that pace. He's pressing from the front and he's asking for the ball. And I don't think the defenders, well, certainly in the second half on Saturday, I don't think they knew how to deal with him, because he was taking centre-halves out wide with them. They were like, we can't go now. He was creating a sort of free role for himself. I thought he was brilliant, and I've been critical of him at times, but I thought he was brilliant on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I defended him quite a bit last season, and not due to the fact that I thought he was playing well. The stuff he's gone through from a personal perspective is, unthinkable for a lot of people.
He cares for his partner, doesn't he? He's public on this, by the way. He does,
exactly.
His partner's sick and he cares for her.
And I think it's a credit to him that he's public on it, but he's not public on it to the extent of making an excuse. It's just, he's done a lot of work in the community.
Did you see his socials on Saturday after the game?
No.
He put a social up and he said, I've been quiet on here lately, but I just want to say how privileged it is to play for this football club.
And again, I'm always keen to defend people who do so much for the community, and he does a hell of a lot more, probably more than most of them players put together.
Yeah.
And that's when he's not playing well. I think a lot of players will hide and not be visible when they're not playing well. He was the first person at any event, and again, you know, it doesn't matter what job you do. If you go home from your job, or you're doing your job, and your job isn't your isn't the first thing on your mind, it's something else. It's so hard to work at your best. And,
of course, yeah.
And I'm not saying, you know, his personal problems have gone away, but he's clearly got a bit more of a bit of a structure and support with it now. But he's just a person enjoying his job now. You can see he's enjoying his job, enjoying his football.
I don't know the specifics, but maybe the personal side of his life has eased. Maybe it is getting better. And we're now seeing how many times, you're in management at a higher level than I am. How many times has someone come to you and, well, personal problems, can I have time off? And you've gone, of course. Yeah. He hasn't had time off.
No, he's had no time off. And that's the point I was going to make. He's probably clocked up more minutes than anyone now, because probably along with Tarkowski and Pickford. But no, you know what? He's one of them players that it's nice to see him do well. He's not been a fan's favourite, far from it. But as you say, he's always put the work rate in. He's never shied away, to the extent that he gave the ball away a lot of times. Last season, trying to do things, and it's a nice thing to see, isn't it?
No, it is. He cares, doesn't he? You can see when we get beat that he's hurt. He's one of the players who comes over to the away fans, and
always.
He's always clapping and thank you for your support, and he does nice posts on social. So I think he's spot on. I think for him to see him enjoying himself because of who he is, it's great, and we're benefiting from it, aren't we?
Yeah, and that first goal was a worldie, and again,
he went and got it. He didn't celebrate. He went and come to win the game now. He dragged everyone back. Let's go and get another.
I was going to say that's like captain material now. Yeah. I wouldn't go as far as to make him captain, as Tarkowski's as Colossus back there, but it's been a while since we had a player who shows captain credentials on the ball as an attacking player. I actually can't think of one. Probably Tim Cahill is the last person who was in the final third, and you thought, you know what, he plays like a captain, and he's kind of taking the game to the team. Because as you say, in the second half, we needed someone to step up, and boy, did he step up.
After scoring that goal at that end, how easy would it be to go and celebrate, take your top off?
Yeah, exactly.
But his first thing was no.
To get the ball, and then he goes and obviously finishes.
The first touch on the second goal. Judge in the pits-esque. It
was a phenomenal
touch. It came out of nothing. It was like a nothing ball kind of thing. Yeah. That could have easily gone out for a goal kick.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Or he could have been guilty just trying to get on the end of it or stretch for it or whatever. Yeah. But the composure to I know
where this is going. I know what I'm going to do.
And you know what, when you're a top player, and again, I maybe had moments of this in the pitch when I played against weaker players, it just feels like you're controlling the pace of the game and the pace of the ball. The ball comes to you and you're never rushed.
Yeah.
And it looked a bit like that at times from McNeil on it doesn't matter where he was, the ball was sticking to his feet. He knew what he was doing next.
Confidence?
Yeah, he was winning fouls. The confidence was oozing from him. And I guess the only doubt now is, and I'd love it, is just can he try and keep this up? Now I don't expect him to know he's on 4 goals, maybe 3 in the league. I don't expect him to be getting 15 goals this season, but it'd be great if he can keep it up, because it's a huge bonus, isn't it? It's not what people weren't expecting.
You're right,
for Dwight McNeil to get 10 goals. When we spoke about who's going to contribute goals at the start of the season, we were hoping for Calvert-Lewin, maybe Decore gets a few more. Maybe can we get a bit more out of Harrison? I'm not sure that many people would have been, rolling Dwight McNeil.
I think the system, because Decore played the 10 last season, our system designed for the 10 to be the goal scorer.
It is, yeah,
we've heard rumours, without going too far into it, that Dominic Calvert-Lewin doesn't really enjoy the style of play. He enjoyed under Carlo and he enjoyed under Duncan Ferguson, because the whole thing was we want Dominic Calvert-Lewin to score the goals. Now, we're benefiting from it at times. We haven't nailed it, but on Saturday we benefited from it. The number 10 has got the licence to score the goals forever at the minute.
What I was going to say, though, the difference, and I've said this before, whether it's Tillman and I as well, Dwight McNeil being the number 10 will have a much better impact on the style of play for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Because you can't play a 60-yard ball and expect Dwight McNeil to run in behind. You've got to find him to feet. You've seen it with the goal against Bournemouth. You find Dwight McNeil in the pocket, he finds Calvert-Lewin. Decore's not making that pass. No. Decore's not taking that shot that he did. So they've got to play a bit more cute to get Dwight McNeil on the ball. And, Dominic Calvert-Lewin had more chances than anyone at the weekend. So he is getting chances. He has got a couple of goals already. it wouldn't surprise me to see us get to December and to see not only a fitter Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but a happier Dominic Calvert-Lewin and one with more goals because of Dwight McNeil playing in that position.
Maybe you're right. Maybe I wouldn't be surprised that at the end of the season, our top goal scorer was not Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Maybe not.
It would be a McNeil.
That's fine, though, isn't it? If you get
It is
goals,
fine.
you
Exactly.
goals.
Yeah, if the system works, but whether we keep until the end of the season is a whole different question, isn't it? Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Of course. Another player that we briefly mentioned then in terms of him being almost a shoe-in now, and he was excellent again the weekend, Iliman Ndiaye. What a signing.
He gets the ball and people get on the edge of the seat.
Yeah.
People, when he drops the shoulder and he runs at pace and Everton on the attack. And it reminds me, I know you've likened to Stephen Pienaar, haven't you? And I do see that, but
Kanchelskis.
Anders Limpar.
Kanchelskis.
Where Limpar was just...
Yeah.
You'd give Limpar the ball, and if he beat the man, the ground would stand up.
I just think the pace and the physicality he's got is more Kanchelskis. Now, by the way, he's nowhere near Kanchelskis in terms of the end product, but earlier on in that season, the 95-96 season, it took him a while to get going. It was November, I think, when he got them 2 goals at Anfield, and he kicked on from there. And I spent a season in France. Obviously, took him a few games to get put into the team. It's probably only his, third or fourth start. I wouldn't be surprised for us to get to November, December and to see Ndiaye putting numbers on the board as we were talking about Harrison and getting goals regularly because he's doing everything else at the moment.
And it feels like the younger generation now have got someone on the pitch who's exciting them. And everyone needs that. I had a chat last week with someone about my little boy going to the games, and I'm like, it's such a difficult period for young Evertonians at the minute.
Noah's favourite player, Pickford.
Exactly, yeah. Your kids have been, and how many times have they said we're excited by a player?
Who's that?
All of a sudden, we've got a player who's quite exciting. Now, how much we can get out of him, I don't know. I think he's on record as saying he feels he's a 10. He's currently playing on the wing at the minute, which again could because Dwight McNeil's playing so well.
Does look like he's enjoying it though. I spoke to Sheffield United fans and they said visibly he plays him on the left and he'd sulk. Doesn't look like he's sulking.
Do you know what I think he's
playing
enjoying?
a lot more narrow, and they rotate quite a bit, him and McNeil as well.
Yeah, but what I think he's enjoying, and this could be because he's this type of personality, is he's enjoying being a fan favourite.
Yeah.
He's enjoying, he's putting the socials up, praising the fans, he's milking the applause, which is great. I'm all for that. And I feel like he needed a bit of love maybe, and we've appreciated what he's done. We've given him the love. He does look good player. He does. And
again, I think he's another player who's in the bracket of we need to keep him fit.
Yeah,
he had times I think at Sheffield United where he was out the team for a month or so at a time. So I think, as you say, we haven't got an abundance of pace in that team. If you start to put McNeil in as a shoe-in and maybe Harrison comes back in, there's not a lot of pace in there. So I think it's he gives us that extra dimension. It does. It's been quite easy against Sean Dyche's teams. If you think we're going to be playing long, let's play a high line then, because they can't play that long ball to Calvert-Lewin if they're playing a high line. Now you've got somebody who can run in behind and genuinely hurt them.
Well, he was helping out defensively on Saturday as well, a lot, especially in the first half we were under. He's got that Pienaar turn. What Pienaar used to do with Leighton Baines is he'd receive the ball facing Baines and he'd cut inside like quick.
Yeah.
And Ndie's got that. Ndie's done that a few times, and that's a good weapon to have as well.
It is definitely. But look, again, a lot of positives in there. Moving forwards, it does what does that game do for the team?
Oh, huge. Let me start on. I just then huge. I imagine today, Monday lunchtime, they're feeling good at Finch Farm, and they're taking that into Tuesday's session.
Apart from the rain,
yeah. I imagine the coaching staff for boys. I imagine Finch Farm is a happier place to be this week. And that's everything, because I know we're going to talk briefly on it, but Saturday's a tough, very, very tough game. And if those players were going into that with the clouds hanging over them, and podcasts like this, not doing a podcast as positive as we're trying to do today, where we're talking about the negatives and we're talking about the pressure. And Goodison Park again next Saturday would have been an environment where the players might not have looked forward to. So exactly. I think that win is everything. I think the Leicester one was like a mini step forwards. We stopped getting beat, and then it was key that mini step forward wasn't halted on Saturday. We took the step forward. We regained the lead and won from behind for the first time under Sean Dyche. And the players kept hold of the lead. It was at Goodison. And Spirit of the Blues plays, and they go around the crowd, they go home, and everyone feels happy. I think it's huge.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So as you just said, then we're not gonna fully preview the Newcastle game. We're hoping to get a fan on later on the week as well. But let's take the chance to talk about it. Newcastle home, as you say, a very difficult fixture in anyone's books really. But is it the same team that finished the game that's got to go out and start?
Yeah, I think so. I think definitely. I don't see how you would change it now. Maybe he might bring a Drissigan guy in for Takori. I don't know. But because maybe it's a game that the manager, and I wouldn't disagree with him if he did do this. It's a game that you say, can we get a point here? It's not a bad point. If I'm looking at the roadmap to May, that's a good point. Let's not think of it short term. Let's look at long term. Take 4 points at Goodison in a week is good. So I think he maybe bring a Drissigan guy back in. I wouldn't really be against that. But no, Jack Harrison stays in.
It's hard, isn't it?
I think Ashley Young stays in. I don't think Ashley Young has a bad game.
I think it's fair to speak about him as well. Not just Saturday. I thought he was close to being our man of the match against Leicester. I thought he was excellent against Leicester. Obviously playing at left back as well. And you forget about that. And I'm not saying like we start waxing lyrical about Ashley Young here, but his versatility is such a huge asset to the squad.
We had interception on Saturday for the goal as well. It was him who done it. He got an assist. So I don't see many changes. I don't know why, but there seems to be needle between Everton and Newcastle at Goodison. There always seems to be that. I don't know whether it's a Pickford thing and their fans just go nuts at the sight of them.
It is definitely that, but there was that game a few years ago where we were, was it 1 or 2-0 up? We're going into stoppage time and they scored 2 in injury time.
I don't know. We've always just seemed like laugh at each other's misery.
Pickford is a huge.
Remember they went down under Shearer and we were all made up. Because there's an image of Michael Owen and Joey Barton on the pitch and all that.
Michael Owen was playing for them. They've always had players and characters that. Shearer. I used to hate Shearer. He was horrible against us. He was particularly horrible at Goodison now. I actually remember there's my dad's mate used to like try and pick on a player and shout at them. And he used to go for Shearer, Pat. I hate you, Shearer. And one time he actually turned around and gave him the fingers because he'd been on him all the game. But
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is.
Well, now there's Andy Gordon as well.
Well, there's Gordon. There was Gary Speed and Duncan Ferguson. They seem to always sort of take our players off them. I don't know what it is, but Newcastle at Goodison always feels a big game.
And let's be honest, the fans are quite similar to our fans, aren't they? They
seem to hate us.
Been denied of success. I know, but I don't know. I guess it's
when we were nearly going down a couple of years ago, I remember seeing some Newcastle fans who were like active. It was like watching Liverpool fans tweet about it. They were wanting us to go down. So it's R5 on Saturday as well, isn't it? So we're going to have the second half under the lights. Big game. It is a big game. Just don't lose. Don't lose.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bit that worries me. I think the way we played in that second half, it was like let's throw Everton at it because we've got nothing to lose. I think when you start a game against a team like Newcastle and the tendency, maybe the changes are suggesting that we're going to come in and sit in and make things difficult. I'm never that keen on that type of game under Sean Dyche. I think he certainly at Goodison, he seems to relish when it's like, right, let's go for these here. Let's try and...
Yeah, we played them off the park last year under the lights, didn't we? 3-0. I think the last goal that Beto scored was like a 20-pass move or something.
It was,
And Anthony Gordon was at fault for it, and it was a great night.
Well, hopefully this is we've seen it since he took over at Everton, and it was synonymous for it at Burnley. Hopefully this is the start of one of his runs. It's getting into that territory because it was every year at Burnley we'd had an awful start. Obviously, we've rolled that stat out a few times. He's never won a game in August. That'll continue into September. Get into October, he'd start to win games. And I think he's had something like 3 managers of the month in November.
December is difficult. Our fixtures, it's difficult. So there's no time like the present to go and put 12 or 15 on the board.
I don't think it's a bad time to play Newcastle. I mean, they've started fairly well. They've got a lot more players fit than they did last season. But they still look ropey at the back. And again, is Isak's injured as well, isn't he?
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, I think Isak's, because Gordon played as the false 9 the weekend.
And he was good.
Yeah, and he's playing very well, Gordon, and I think I think Gordon is still a very emotive player, And
Gordon doesn't like us.
Yeah, he doesn't like us, and I think the emotions can get to him at times. I hope it does the weekend. Don't feel like he's ever really done well against Liverpool, and I think that's another one he likes to.
He's a big red, isn't he?
Yeah, but it's again close to his heart. I don't know. I'd like to think, or I'm hoping that again, if his emotions, I'll get the better of him.
Let's just hope
kick out at someone.
Let's hope the Park end is singing at injury time. Gordon, what's the score again?
Yeah,
it was nice last year.
Exactly.
We've got some socials here, Judge. For you. Pick 5. First one. Every time we get a guest on, like, you know, whether it's Julia, whether it's Joe Thomas, Paddy, Peter Hooton, Manny always asks red or brown on a sausage on toast. So he said, thanks for always asking. But what about you guys? Red or brown on a sausage on toast?
For me, it's red on a sausage on toast.
Okay.
Brown for bacon, red for sausage. But you know what? I wouldn't be against brown.
Yeah.
Wouldn't offend me.
Brown for me. I'd go brown, but I'd go red on a bacon, to be honest.
No, it's not right. I'm insistent. I'd rather have no sauce than red on bacon, but sausages, I'd probably go for tomato. And I always think it's like, you wouldn't have brown sauce on a hot dog, would you?
No, you wouldn't. It's true. Okay. Mick on Twitter again. We'll have to just breeze through this one, I think, Mick, unfortunately, but it's a good idea for maybe a summer show. It's the best and worst players in your lifetime. I imagine for Everton, I assume.
Worst, Klaus Thompson. Best, Gary Speed.
Yeah.
Or Andrei Kanchelskis, one of those two.
Best, emotionally, always Duncan Ferguson. I thought he was my hero, but probably technically the best was Wayne Rooney. Neil Maupay is definitely in the shout for one of the worst signings and players I've seen. There was that much anger in my body when he used to like come out, and he just, in the end, he trolled us.
Yeah.
And that's great, but it wound me up even more.
He was crap. I'd definitely not put him anywhere near the worst we've had. Like,
1 goal in 2 years.
I know.
15 million
it wasn't
quid.
2 years though, was it? It wasn't 2 years worth of games. I honestly, genuinely believe that if some of them chances, i.e. against Liverpool, he'd have put one of them away, I think he has a very, very different Everton career.
No, he's crap.
he's crap, like I'm saying.
AFC picks. Does Dyche make the summer? Yes or no, and why?
Yeah.
Why?
I think...
Because we stay up?
I think he makes the summer because, well, there's two different questions. Does he make the summer? I don't know. Would I keep him till the summer? Yeah. I'm just, you know, the freaking group, if they get their takeover ratified, I think within October, I don't think he makes the summer.
Yeah.
But I think if it drags into November, I think he does, because I think we'll probably be in an okay position then. And it would be a little bit naive, I think, to get rid of him if we're doing okay in the league, because that January window is not a great time to be trying to get value and get players in. I think we'll need to get maybe 1 or 2 players, but I don't think you're going to get much value there. And despite the fact that these are going to come in and maybe give us a bit of money, obviously within the constraints of FFP, I actually don't mind the model we've kind of struck upon at the moment in terms of buying young players like Hillman and Dye, who've kind of fell off a little bit, but have got potential. And I wouldn't like to just... I don't want it to just go back to the Macheri thing where the owner's starting to dictate who we buy. I don't want that to happen.
Well, he's out of contract in the summer, and for me, the perfect scenario, not the perfect scenario, because the perfect scenario is obviously Everton winning everything, but the ideal scenario for me would be he does make the summer, we shake hands.
I think so.
And you sort of say, do you know what? Thank you.
I think
for that period, you had the crap end of the stick.
Yeah.
You've kept us up. However,
yeah,
we're going to bring another manager in and we're going to try and...
I think he deserves that. I don't think... I certainly don't... And that's what I mean. I wouldn't like to see him go before the end of the season, because he certainly doesn't deserve to be sacked before the end of his contract, given what he's dealt with and what he's achieved under the circumstances. If the right manager was there and we could only get him in season, and it wasn't an opportunity to get him at the end of the season, then I'm not that nostalgic about it. I don't think he is really either.
Well, the second question, it piggybacks onto the first one really, and you've touched upon it there. So tell on Twitter, with us obviously needing money to trade, and so many players that are out of contract next summer, do you think we have to sell someone in January?
No. Who? So the only three sellable assets really are Pickford, Branthwaite and Calvert-Lewin. Calvert-Lewin's obviously out of contract, so who's going to be... Unless you're a team that needs a striker in, i.e. for Europe or to fend off relegation, I can't see anyone paying more than 10 million for him, given he's out of contract, and why would we sell for 10 million? Branthwaite, again, I think most of the people who want him would prefer to wait till the summer. And Pickford, I don't know, I feel like his ship sailed a little bit now.
We've definitely got to trade at some point, whether it's January or next summer, because you can't quit the pre-season with 12 outfield players.
No. What I mean, you're saying, do we need to sell someone?
Yeah, so I think what Tal's getting at is do you see it being in January, not next summer, that we say, do you know what, we'll have to get ready for the summer and sell one now?
I think, I mean, if you look at the books, we don't need to sell it. If the debt gets cleared and the free agent group clear that, we're actually in the black.
And Kevin Thelwell has said we are PSR compliant.
Yeah, exactly. So we would be able to spend if we wanted to. I don't think it's a great window to spend in. I don't know why we'd sell under that circumstance. If the debt's cleared, I know we need to trade in the summer. Again, the same as the manager. If the right player's there at the right price, then why not? But if they're not, I wouldn't be in a hurry to go and spend over the odds, unless, God forbid, we're right in there and we're second or bottom of the league.
And the last question, I'll just take it because I was there yesterday. Where is it? Sarah on Twitter. First of all, are you going to do any more women's content? We are, aren't we? We are talking to... we were due to go down last week, actually, an interview ahead of the Manchester United game, for whatever, there was just, we couldn't make it happen.
I think it's probably fair to speculate that it was around the day that the freaking group announced it was on Sky and all that.
Didn't want fan groups.
A bit too, didn't want too nosy.
We've been invited down, whether it's Judgy or me, we've been invited down to preview the West Ham United game next month. That's on the 12th of October. We have spoke to the club about maybe getting some of the women's team in the studio to do some more bits and things. But the second part of the question is a little bit of a difficult one, really. What do you think of the club not letting the players sign autographs anymore? So this was noticeable yesterday at the women's game, that the club announced that the women would no longer be doing it for safety reasons because it's on public lands. So the players wouldn't be doing. So
is it an insurance thing or something?
I don't know. So I was asking here, but there was a discussion yesterday. I was very, very fortunate yesterday. My little boy was the mascot, so I was in the club section a little bit, so I could sort of see what was going on. And then a few of my friends have said they took the kids and they were disappointed. The club have came out and said it's for safety reasons. It was blocking exits and things, but I don't know. The club have followed up by saying they're going to do meet and greets and things. I
was going to say, do you know what? We can ask. Obviously, they've had a comment from the club, but we can ask and say, look, I think the fans deserve a bit more of an explanation than it's for safety reasons. Obviously, there might be certain instances and certain occasions when it can't happen, i.e., as you said, or the blocking exits or whatever. But I think to just make it a blanket carte blanche rule is a bit distasteful.
The women's supporters club have said that there will be events with the women, because we've been to women's games and they are superstars to some of the kids that are accessible and things, and that's a big thing. At Goodison, accessibility to some players isn't there. They can drive past.
The women themselves enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? It's a nice thing for them as well.
So let's hope that something can replace that. I will take the club at their word, because we've got a very good relationship with the people at the women's side of the football club, especially. I'll take them at their word.
So is that just the women?
Just the women, yeah. Oh. So they're saying safety reasons. Walton, the council may have said something. It might be you're taking too long to get to clear out public highways and things, and the reason is you're having an unofficial meet and greet. But we'll take them at the word, like Judgy said. We can ask the question next time it's on and get more clarity. But they done well yesterday, Judgy, the women. You watched it 1-0 to Man United, but they played well.
They did, yeah. And that first goal was a tough one to take, isn't it? They're a good side, United, and obviously got a lot of threat on the break and a lot of pace, and the likes of Everton who can hurt you at any time. The injury was probably at a difficult time for Everton as well. She was just starting to get a bit of a foothold in the game. She was, yeah. And that's two really tough injuries they've had to very good players at the start of the season. So it's... Yeah, I mean, and again, I know there's a lot of turnover in the summer. Brian strives hard to get a squad that he feels are good enough to compete, but like the men's first team, you're up against it from a financial point of view. So
are the women, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant, yeah. They're obviously owned by the same people. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully they can kick on, but it's a tough start to the season for them.
Yeah, we'll try and get down again, but we'll do some more content. We are definitely speaking to the club.
Well, yeah, that's about it, Millsy. Lovely to be back in the studio. Lovely to have this nice little comfortable setup as well. I prefer us to sitting at our desk. But
the show we done, when you were away, we done a show with Julia, and we were opposite ends of the table, and one of the comments killed me. Like, are you still doing COVID-19 social distancing requirements? And I looked at the picture, and we looked like we were arguing.
Yeah.
But this is a nice setup, isn't it? Give us your feedback if you like it or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I like it, so if you don't like it, then... So the only thing I'm missing, actually, is a bit of a footrest. I like a little bit of a puffy there, that'd be nice.
So bacon butty with brown sauce on it.
And a cup of tea, yeah. And yeah, definitely brown sauce on my bacon. But again, thanks everyone for tuning in advance. Please do check out the review with Back of the Nest, the Crystal Palace fan podcast. We are hoping to do a preview with a Newcastle podcast, are we? It's the aways we normally do that for, isn't it? But why not?
Yeah, so I think you're on the I think you're speaking to someone about the review and preview, and then we're going for the first time this season, we're going to try and do, or the second time, an instant match on Saturday.
Yeah, of course, definitely. But again, thanks for tuning in. Please do give us a like or subscribe. The likes, believe it or not, even though it's just a little click, it does help us. It helps YouTube to recognise that people actually enjoy our content. Any comments, as always, are welcome, whether it's questions or it's points or it's just taking the mick out of us. We're absolutely fine with all those things. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great week, Blues. And as always, up the toffees.